Handsome Hockey Podcast. 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 Handsome Hockey Podcast.
Handsome Hockey Podcast.
All right.
Episode 44.
Here we are, everybody. Episode 44 of the Handsome Hockey Podcast. I am Jake, along with Evan.
I'm Evan.
He is Evan, and today he's excited to be Evan.
I'm excited. We haven't done this in a minute, and I got like a beer and a half in before we started.
Just a heads up for the listeners. This episode, there's going to be a lot of fluff. There's going to be a lot of jokes.
Fluffy episode.
We're sitting on a cloud surrounded by marshmallows and cotton balls, that kind of fluff. And I mean, things happened. Things exist.
This is our Gabriel Iglesias episode. Call us fluffy.
I think we're both... I got no joke. Fuck. This is a bad start if I'm saying there's going to be a bunch of jokes and a bunch of...
I wish we were funnier than Gabriel Iglesias, but survey says that we are not.
I think we might be.
I don't know. We'll have to try really hard.
Do we have to?
We'll have to try really hard to be funny.
He's not very funny.
Everyone knows that the funniest things come from people trying really hard to be funny.
Yes, that's exactly what I think of. I'm like, wow, that guy is really trying hard.
That guy.
Wow, is he funny? First up on the docket is some women's hockey news that is like a decade old, I think, at this point.
They tried really hard.
They tried. Speaking of tried really hard, the NWHL doesn't exist anymore.
They have rebranded
Da-da.
to spicier.
I wish we... Is that like...
Premier Hockey Federation.
Is that like Chris Kattan doing Antonio Banderas?
That is exactly what... That is me doing Chris Kattan doing Antonio Banderas.
But I must. Not... And I should be Horatio Sands in the background going, no, too sexy, no. Yeah, so the NWHL rebranded to be the Premier Hockey Federation, which literally means nothing to anyone and doesn't tell a person what they're looking at when they see it at all. It's a super confusing jumble of words that makes fart noises when you think about it too hard.
It sounds like some lower tier Russian hockey league.
This is like the Vladivostok League, way out east,
Yeah, this is like
basically on the Pacific, away from cultured Russia.
I was going to say this is the Kremlin invite-only adult league.
So this is the league,
beer league or vodka league.
This is the league where they just allow Putin to score 8 goals a game.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of the teams in the league, but he is the only person on his team, and his team always wins. So it kind of changes the strategy. You know, you have 8 teams in the league, and one of them is just Putin.
And, well, one time he lost.
Things did not go well.
One time.
For that team.
Just one time. For, I think we're on the same page here, where this is a terrible rebrand.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing. You kind of see maybe what they were going for, trying to degender the league, but they didn't then also make it more trans inclusive.
Yeah.
And so if that was the intent, it was a very empty move.
That wasn't the intent, though.
Well, I mean, do we know exactly what the intent was at this point? Because it's sort of not clear to me.
I think a lot of rhetoric came out around it, and it was just people using what we would call $10 words and making shit up on the fly.
$20 words, that's my lexicon.
Ooh. Or is it a $3 bill, y'all?
No, that's just Joe Biden inflation right there. $10 words are now $20 words.
Oh, well.
It's sort of taking women out of the name. So you can see where the opportunity was there, but that they didn't really take it. So I don't really understand why this happened, what they thought they stood to gain by rebranding as the Premier Hockey Federation. But, you know, we still support them. We still will watch the games. We still will talk about them, but it kind of makes it more confusing for us because now we're going to have to say the Premier Hockey Federation, which is the women's professional league. They've made that kind of coda on their name necessary now.
They talked about branding a lot in the press release, and how this was going to improve branding. And it's like as if the word women's in their title was the thing that was preventing them from being able to brand themselves. Like,
right, which it absolutely was not.
that's the thing that's allowing them to brand themselves, is
Yeah.
that they are the professional women's hockey league in North America. And now that that's gone, like, I don't get it. Like,
Well,
you're going to see like Discover Card, proud sponsors of the Premier Hockey Federation. Like, what does that fucking mean? Somebody discovers like, what is this money going to? Like,
yeah, and they've also kind of ceded that ground to the PWHPA, which will maintain women's in their title ostensibly forever. So, yeah, kind of a misstep. We'll still support them, but it seems, at least from where I stand, I don't fully understand why this was necessary and what they stand to gain. And I hope it doesn't hurt them as much as I kind of think it will.
this will also lead to confusion to, once again, people thinking the WHL is the Women's Hockey League as opposed to the Western Hockey League. When I first moved out here, I said, oh, Portland's got a WHL team? There's a Women's Hockey League? And then I looked, I was like, whoops.
Oh, actually.
That was, I mean, before I even remotely cared about prospects or whatever, like draft picks. That was when the Red Wings were good, so I didn't have to worry about draft picks because we never had any. It seems like a very failed attempt, and
Yeah, kind of.
in a league that has a relatively decent history of failed attempts at this point.
It feels like flailing when they didn't really need to be flailing because they've come out of COVID in a pretty good place, at least from where I see it.
Yeah, there's expansion on the table. There's a real actual buzz about the league in hockey circles as well as outside of hockey circles, like in general sports circles. They had just finalized the sale of their final team. So all teams which had previously been owned by the league are now independently owned.
Mm-hmm.
There was good momentum. Yes, they hadn't talked about Digit Murphy's transphobia yet.
No.
They or some of their players' transphobia, or the kind of repeated attempts by some women in the league to get Barstool involved in it. But all of those problems still exist, and now you have no identity. So
Well, they don't have no identity, but they've maybe kind of stubbed their identity's toe.
they have bad and a bad identity, an unidentifiable identity.
Yeah.
Because now if you see PWF or PHF, now if you see PHF, you're like, oh, I gotta Google that. Like NWHL, you could kind of guess. Like HL, okay, Hockey League, and NHL, okay. Oh, that's probably a hockey league. PHF looks about confusedly. What? It's goofy. It feels like a shtick, and I'm already over it. With that being said, sometime in late October, we're going to come out with our PHF preview. And
try and say that with more consternation, please. Should we call it the formerly known as NWHL preview?
that is going to be the name of the episode.
Yeah, so sayonara to the name NWHL. Long live the league itself. Kind of a bummer of a name change, but they're going to own it, and we'll do our best to support them.
Moving on, you know who should probably change their name? Evander Kane. I'm just going to answer that question for you. It's not even a rhetorical question.
Hi, I'm John Doe, formerly known as Evander Kane.
He might be able to dodge his creditors at that point. Evander Kane gave a brief interview with ESPN with Linda Cohn, and in that interview denied having ever bet on hockey games, especially games that he has played on. Came out and said he did have a gambling problem, which Duh. Really, Evander? I'm surprised.
All evidence points to that being true. Snopes confirms.
So, and the NHL has since come out and said that there's no evidence that he had bet on his own hockey games.
NHL comes out and said, honey, we believe you.
Yeah. We're still shying away from investigating the Blackhawks, but hey, we got that Evander Kane one wrapped up.
Yeah, there was never any evidence to support that he had bet on his own games. His performance was relatively consistent and consistently good. So, this was always sort of kind of a nothing burger to people that were following it, but glad the NHL decided to put it to rest publicly while more accusations are leveled against him by his soon-to-be ex-wife. She has made accusations of sexual assault and harassment and domestic abuse and all of the awful things that we don't like to hear hockey players do.
This isn't going away.
No, it's not. Like, one thing gets cleared up for him, she's got more accusations. Like, doesn't this sort of support my previous assertion that, like, this is kind of a negotiation in the media? And they're like, settle and, abandon some of your assets. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then they're like, okay, it's going to get worse for you, buddy. And he's like, no, proud. I'm not going to do it.
He's so proud.
That was the one thing you could really gather from that ESPN interview. And, like, props to ESPN for sending in Lynn Cohn and, like, taking on, starting to take on some of the investigative reporting necessary in the NHL.
Yeah.
As opposed to ignoring the league for 20 years.
Yeah. Linda Cohn is amazing. Let's just get that out there. She's great.
Yeah. This wasn't exactly her best interview, but it was one that was necessary, needed to happen. He didn't exactly do himself any favors. He looked kind of, I don't know. Bad. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to find better adjectives than just bad.
I think we said this in our last episode, which, was so long ago that I honestly don't remember if it was the last one or one before that, but it's like when enough accusations pile up against you, regardless of their veracity,
it's kind of a critical
eventually
mass.
there's a dark cloud that hangs over you where it's, if enough people are saying these things about you, you done fucked up.
Yeah.
It might not be all of the things. It might not be most of the things. But the fact that the allegations about him paying for abortions came out and nobody batted an eye, they're like, no, well, more Evander Kane news.
Right. That's a really hard thing to talk about, which is what, that's the reason I think it didn't get more traction, but I was surprised that didn't get talked about in more circles other than that. Like, I didn't really want to talk about it. So, Evander Kane, done fucked up, Ron, as Key and Peele like to put it. You know who else done fucked up, Ron? Marc-Andre Fleury and his goaltender mask artiste.
Let's say, I don't think this is Marc-Andre Fleury's doing. Let's not sully his name with this.
It's his consultant who does a lot of other masks for a lot of other prominent goalies. He's the goalie guy. This is not his first time getting in hot water.
His name is Stéphane Bergeron, and in creating Marc-Andre Fleury's mask, which is
it's the Blackhawks logo on a mask.
It's really like kind of basic bitch for as far as goalie masks go these
Absolutely.
days. It's just the logo and the word Chicago on it.
Right.
Which to me as a native Michigander is offensive, but I get it. He wrote on Twitter that there were 3 other designs for Fleury's mask that were denied by the team due to racial tensions. So the already racist mascot and logo is the most palatable design that this guy came up with to make a Blackhawks. What the fuck were the other 3? Was it depictions of scenes from Blood Meridian? Like, what the fuck was he painting on a helmet that was more racist than just their average logo, which is already racist.
It's actually just General Custer's face.
Okay.
No, this artist is known for very like detailed, like, I don't know, kind of incredibly, he almost does graffiti-esque postmodern art with a bunch of different subjects in there, and then really kind of airbrushy, flowy things. And what we got was this fairly static, it's basically just the Blackhawks jersey on a mask. And so, yeah, one wonders what the hell was rejected. And I'm guessing that it's something that is normal in the Florida Seminoles branding lexicon.
But they pay money to be able to brand that way.
Exactly.
Here's the quote from Stéphane Bergeron. 3 concepts were refused by the team due to racial tensions. Many elements related to the natives cannot be reproduced on the mask of the Blackhawks, which greatly limits my creativity.
It's dumb, and he probably came up with something dumb, and they said, no, we're kind of trying to wind this branding down. But the Blackhawks, I mean, are very clearly trying to wind this branding down. Eventually go away from it, I would guess, just like the Winterhawks did. So, it's sort of predictable. You kind of wonder what ended up on the cutting room floor, and I'm sure it was just some sort of like aggressive Native American insignia along the lines of things that you see trotted out by Florida State. Furthermore, the visage that they are sporting, it's not like they're paying Chief Blackhawks family to use his face on their logo. There's a sort of personal identity question that I always prompt to people that want to defend the Blackhawks logo. For years and years and years, the team and its sort of media environs have prepped people with like this kind of canned defense of the Blackhawks logo that like I think just does not stand up anymore. And it's just like, it was a real guy, so it's not racist. And it's like, well, no.
That might make it more racist, actually.
It definitely leads into like, okay, shouldn't you be paying to use to license his image? Paying his descendants. Yeah, and also he was a captive of the United States for a really long time and was essentially just like trotted out to like support basically white hegemony and manifest destiny. He was like this powerful Indian chief made into like this sideshow that the US government just tooled around on trains for years and years, and like had him write a book where he talked about this experience and like talked up America. And it's like, really? Fucking really? Like, there's this sort of historical erasure that the Blackhawks tried to do by also pointing out the fact that this isn't about Chief Blackhawk. It's about a World War I regiment that bore his name. Like, oh, okay, a bunch of white boys going over to Europe were inspired by the captive Native American chief. Like, that doesn't make it any different.
Also happening in Chicago hockey team land,
The investigation.
Yeah, Patrick Kane. I'm using scare quotes. You can't see, but participated in the investigation, in which he denied, just like his captain, of ever hearing anything homophobic or about sexual assault or, the like very obvious issues that were going on in the Chicago Blackhawks hierarchy at that time. So now, like, the 3, shall we say, stars of that 2010 team, Duncan Keith, Patrick Kane, and Jonathan Toews, have all come out and say, I didn't know anything about anything, and this, right. I found out about it later, and I was sad.
Right.
Fuck you all. Fuck this bullshit. It's like, you've got people who are on the team coming out and saying, yeah, everybody knew, and we called them homophobic slurs in practice. And you've got people on other teams coming in and going, yeah, everybody fucking knew about this.
I would believe maybe one of these guys not knowing, but all 3, no, this is absolutely just gaslighting of fandom.
If I'm not wrong, wasn't this like the captain and both of his alternates?
Yeah, exactly. The people that you would expect to carry water for an organization.
Yeah, but at the same time, like when I think of like the people, I don't think of it so much anymore because as we've seen over the last, 5 to 10 years, leaders are all full of shit. But like, when you name somebody the captain or the alternate captain of your sports team, that used to mean these were the guys who had the backs of the guys that they were going, quote unquote, to war with. And I don't use war analogies for sports, but apparently now it means the people who will go to bat for the organization that is paying them millions of dollars. So yeah, this investigation from the Blackhawks still hasn't been released. And when it does, it'll probably amount to nothing, and they'll try and sweep it under the bridge, they'll try and sweep it under the rug, or drown it like a bad cat underneath the bridge. Like, I hate that this is gonna amount to nothing. I hate it.
But you can see it coming from a million miles away.
For like Klingons are out there going, yeah, that Blackhawks thing's not gonna come to fucking anything, and we're just like sitting here like pretending like it's the big bad monster in the room. Meanwhile, the NHL is just gonna let this fucking happen.
Yeah. Meanwhile, this like Brad Aldrich guy is up in Michigan, like employing
boys,
employing young men in his like business. Like it seems like the legal system in this case has very little recourse for what appears to be a serial predator.
In this and all cases?
Yeah, I mean, more part of the course.
Brett Kavanaugh is a fucking Supreme Court justice, and here we are.
Yeah.
Our next subject here is the RFA stalemate, which was much more developed a couple of days ago when we were writing this script, and now like half of the guys have signed. So Robert Thomas, Dahlin, and Kirill Kaprizov have all signed in the last like 48 hours to make this segment not quite as fun.
Yeah, this all happened like today.
Yeah, Kaprizov signed a 5-year, $9 million contract, which is immediately the richest contract in Minnesota Wild history as far as per year.
Wowza. After playing only 55 games.
Yeah, of which he was probably the best player on the ice for like 40 of them. So
yeah, I mean, he absolutely deserves this contract. It is staggeringly rich.
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting a really awesome house on spec. Yeah. Like, he's demonstrated that the talent's there. He hasn't had the chance yet to demonstrate that the performance is going to stick around. But you damn well saw that he can transform an entire hockey team last year.
Well, he led the KHL in scoring twice. Like, it's not like as a young player. So it's not like this is out of nowhere. Oh my God. He has a track record.
He beat out Nail Yakupov to lead the KHL in scoring.
Shockingly. But so, I mean, those three contracts, honestly, like I really thought Kaprizov or Brady Tkachuk were going to be the last to sign. However, when you look at the financials in Vancouver, they have just north of $10 million in cap space, and they have to sign Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. Elias Pettersson alone could eat all of that cap space.
Yeah, they're FUKT fucked. I mean, like Brady, I assume will sign at some point. The Senators are probably just playing hardball to juice an extra $100,000 out of him because that's what fucking Melnyk wants.
I see. Honestly, like if I'm a team with cap space, let's say, offer Brady like 5 years at like $8 million.
Sure.
And see what happens. Because
At this point, I think they're just trying to cut pennies with an X-Acto knife because that's what the ownership wants.
well, I mean, so Brady a couple of weeks ago was skating in St. Louis, not reporting to Ottawa, and was saying that Ottawa had not even offered him a reasonable offer yet. So if you offer him,
keyword being reasonable,
right? So if they're offering him like $4.5 million a year or some shit, like that's not even close. And if you offer him an $8 million a year deal, which I would say Brady Tkachuk is worth around there, it's probably a little rich, but like by the end of that contract, he is going to be one of the league's premier power forwards, I think. So maybe it's an overpay now, but it might be an underpay later. And so like I'm actually kind of surprised that like the one offer sheet we got was like the vengeance quest from Carolina when guys like Pettersson and guys like Brady Tkachuk are out there just kind of swinging
flapping in the wind,
breeze.
which is right, which is ideally what the offer sheet is meant to deal with.
Yeah, so I mean, throw like 9.5 at Pettersson or whatever, and
Right,
see if it sticks. Like
compared to the way that Pettersson and Hughes are being treated by Vancouver, Kotkaniemi was nailed to the baseboards by Montreal. You kind of have to believe that good old boys club doesn't want to piss off Jim Benning.
Jim Benning's not going to have a job next year. Why are you fucking worried about it?
That's true. That is absolutely
Jim Benning
true.
will never have a GM job in the NHL again, ever, after this year. So why are you fucking worried about what Jim Benning's feelings say?
Because I'm worried about Jim Benning's feelings every hour of every day.
Me and
Jim Benning's therapist.
Jim Benning's therapist is just there collecting a check. They don't give a fuck.
Just like the rest of the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah. This RFA situation is kind of wild. Like we've watched this happen kind of the last couple of years where young RFAs coming off of their entry-level deal are getting these mega contracts, which I honestly, I'm on the record as saying I think is good business for both the player and the team, because you're getting the best years of that player at the actual salary they're worth. And then when they turn 30 or whatever, and you don't want to pay them $9 million a year anymore, you just let them walk. Whereas like paying somebody $9 million a year when they're 29 and they've already had their best years makes
looking at you, Erik Karlsson.
Yeah. Looking at you, Jeff fucking Skinner, like,
yeah,
like Anjay Kopitar, Drew Doughty, like everybody on the fucking Sharks, like, like these are the types of contracts that teams should be signing. You have a guy who is a bona fide superstar or elite talent at 21 years old. Lock that dude up until he's 30. You get 9 years out of him, 8 years out of him, and then you're like, oh, well, we'll see what happens then. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like, by then, we will have used him up. Like, so, if I'm Jim Benning, like, I'm shitting bricks right now because, like, who knows what he's going to do? There's no way he has to ditch salary. He has to. And
that team is already bad on paper.
They're bad, yeah.
I just feel sorry for Thatcher Demko this season. Like, he's just gonna get shelled.
Oh yeah, nothing says getting shelled like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Tyler Myers as
Tucker
your first
Pullman.
pair. Yeah, like
OEL might even like. I think I'm willing to bet on a bounce back here for OEL. Tyler Myers, no.
Yeah, he's just bad.
Tyler Myers might get taller, but he will not play hockey better.
That will actually affect his ability to play hockey.
Yeah.
Only Zdeno Chara wins at plus 6'6 plus.
The Rasmus Dahlin contract, I kind of like. 3x6, $6 million a year, 3 years. Like,
I like it because the Sabres are going to be nowhere near the cap in that time period, and he's an RFA at the end of it. So you still have that sort of control.
He's still super young. He's still got the potential. And like, at this point, they're trying to get rid of everything. They need to just tear it down to studs and try and rebuild from something. And he's maybe your best player you want to keep.
Well, Dahlin's 21. He's already used up. So and by used up, I mean he's played in Buffalo for 3 years. That's like any player going to the Lions. Sorry, your career is over. Isn't that right, Joey Harrington?
You're just like stuck in the Sarlacc pit. Yeah, that's rough.
We've gotten to the point where it's going to be really... There's going to be some very desperate moves, especially by Vancouver, I think, to... Like, we might see, like, Bo Horvat traded for, like, pennies on the dollar or something for them to get Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes under the cap.
That would be a fucking shame.
Yeah, I love Bo Horvat.
I know.
He deserves better than Vancouver.
Good soldier in Vancouver.
Him and Besser, yeah.
I mean, Horvat, just because he's older and has to, has had to endure
he's the
more.
captain.
Right. Besser still has a career ahead of him. Like, Horvat, like, this is starting to be his legacy.
How old do you think Bo Horvat is?
29.
26.
Jesus. He feels like...
He's only got 2 more years left, too. He's gone.
Yeah, him at...
All of these people
at 28, like, rolling up to the Boston Bruins looking like he just got back from Nam.
Good luck, Jim Benning. I hope this fucks you hard. I've been, ever since I read the Prashanth Iyer article in Winging It in Motown, where he detailed how he would offer sheet Elias Pettersson and bring him to the Red Wings so they had immediately a very deep center pool. I have been 100% on board with Yzerman doing this. He never will. It would be great. So
that'd be so awesome. You should send him some fan mail.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. Oh, I've got a letter ready. I'm just waiting for the mail guy to come by.
I send it every week.
Are we Andy Dufresne now? Fuck. Yeah, like we've got Andy Dufresne time on our hands.
You're obtuse. Did you call me obtuse?
What did you call me?
You know who's obtuse?
This
is a fake transition.
No, this is a great transition to anti-vaxxer bullshit.
Yeah. You know who's obtuse? Zach Ronaldo.
You know who's I think out of a job now?
Zach Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Technically still employed, but getting not invited to camp and sent down to the AHL, which probably where he belongs. At this point, being honest, yes. Zach Ronaldo, after saying you shouldn't get vaccinated. Cocky Twitter sort of came down hard on William Nylander today because he admitted that he's not fully vaccinated because he had medical issues. That's excused. Being Zach Ronaldo and being in the media and telling people, you should vouch for personal choice, like that is...
He's going full Cole Beasley.
Yeah, right. Except he's not as good as Cole Beasley. Like Cole Beasley is still worth a roster spot.
Yeah. Also in anti-vax news, the Red Wings, Steve Yzerman came out and said that the entire Red Wings organization is vaccinated against COVID except for...
Survey says...
Todd Bertuzzi's nephew.
Oh, such surprise. Much wow.
Wait, hold on. Let me have a better voice for it. I am shocked. I can't believe that Todd Bertuzzi, that bastion of light and good, his nephew, doesn't believe in the COVID vaccine. I can't believe that Todd Bertuzzi, who once said that if Joe Biden won the election, he would move back to Vancouver. And then suddenly a bunch of people were like, are we voting for Biden now? Shit.
Yeah, it sucks to see Tyler Bertuzzi get have to be in the anti-vaxxer zone now because we liked him. Like, he's an exciting player. He's a fun guy.
So much fun to watch play hockey, and I will enjoy watching him play hockey this season until the Wings trade him. But like
until they have to go to Canada and can't bring him.
Yeah, and but just like it's one thing if like he has a heart condition or some shit no, he openly was like, no, I chose not to.
How salty is he going to feel when his whole team is going to Canada and he's like, guys.
He clearly doesn't give a shit. He clearly doesn't give a shit about the team.
I mean,
no, like, let me just work through this real quick.
Keep going.
The NHLPA and the NHL came out a month ago and said that, well, if you're not vaccinated, chances are you won't be able to play in Canada. And also, we're okay with you losing your checks during that time.
And he was like, Canada, where's that?
Yeah. Despite the fact that I'm from there.
Do they play hockey there?
And like the fact that all of this happened and Tyler Bertuzzi was still like, I'm a man and men don't get vaccinated. And like I am obviously putting things into Tyler Bertuzzi's mouth, but
I mean, if you judge
I'd rather put a fucking vaccine in his arm.
If you judge by the amount of teeth that are missing from Tyler Bertuzzi's mouth, you could have predicted his vaccine stance.
Is there a correlation to brain cells?
Yes. And also just how you feel about a vaccine. Like if you are like less than 50% of your teeth.
He does look like he's from Alabama.
Absolutely. Like he's a Southerner by proxy.
Yeah. It's so discouraging for me as a Wings fan because I love Tyler Bertuzzi as a player.
Yeah, same here.
He's a fascinating hockey player. Mm-hmm. He's not that good, but he's also very good.
Yeah,
you watch him do things and you're like, how did the puck go in the net? How is he doing this? Because he's not that good, but he's also extremely good.
He has some like magical qualities that other NHL players don't necessarily have. Like
he's not skilled, he's not fast, but he puts the puck in the net and he puts his nose in danger areas.
He's a more talented Andrew Shaw.
No, yeah.
I think that's maybe the best corollary.
I am really bummed about this.
More bummed to see someone we like kind of fall from grace out of nowhere.
It's like when we found out that Aunt Becky had paid USC to take her kid, to accept her kid. Like someone that I love just falling from grace.
We found out Obama was wearing a tan suit.
Yeah.
It just ended his
tan suit. Are you kidding me? The only person who could pull off a tan suit, honestly, is probably Pitbull. So if Mr. Worldwide can't pull off a tan suit, nobody can. We're going to find out real quick who the players are that aren't vaccinated. The NHL is saying that it's probably only going to be 10 to 15 players league-wide who aren't.
98% should be vaccinated is what they said.
Yeah, and so we'll find out who they are as soon as every team goes to Canada. And kudos to Canada for giving us that knowledge. I appreciate you.
So speaking of suits and who's going to be spending more time in a suit this season, Alex Stalock, unfortunately. He's going to miss the season with a heart issue stemming from having COVID earlier in the year. And they identified a heart issue and that stemmed from him having COVID, which, you know, people always talk about the vaccine and being worried about their professional athlete bodies dealing with vaccine side effects, and not enough attention is paid to how much COVID has cost, you know, Marco Rossi or any of the number of people, Jonathan Taves, any of the people that have had long COVID and had their careers impacted or jeopardized. Alex Stalock, a pretty damn good goalie, he for the Edmonton Oilers is going to miss the whole season, yet his teammate, Josh Archibald, is going the Tyler Bertuzzi route and doesn't want to get vaccinated. He may just get stuck in America, just not be able to get back into Canada, because we don't care if you have a vaccine here, but,
Yeah, just have him hang out in Idaho for a while. He'll be fine.
You can turn America into your personal Hotel California. Edmonton will probably miss you because they don't have much forward depth.
We have seen with COVID that myocarditis and pericarditis are side effects of it. And I'm not sure what Alex Stalock has, and I'm not going to speculate, but there are definitely some known heart ailments that have cropped up after having, even mild cases of COVID.
Yeah.
And so I really hope Alex Stalock, as a human, like I obviously really hope that he's okay. Like
I think he's pretty good, but he has also just had bad luck, including this.
A bunch of NHLers caught COVID before there was a vaccine last year. And then the vaccine came out towards the tail end of the season. And so players who were still playing largely didn't get it because they didn't want to miss time.
Right. Chancing that they'd miss a week, whatever.
And it turns out, a bunch of players, most players got it during the off season, and 98% is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, let's celebrate the NHL for just a second. The NHL does a bunch of boneheaded shit. I mean, they're about to change their name to the Premier Hockey League Federation. But like getting 98% of your players vaccinated and a couple of teams like basically firing coaches for not getting vaccinated.
And including one coach kind of like gloriously stepping down because he couldn't get vaccinated, and it was like, okay, you need to step aside now. Okay, yeah, I understand. I need to step aside now. Like it was like a sad movie ending.
Yeah, for all of the boneheaded stupid shit that the NHL does, getting this many of their players and staff and I almost said faculty as if this were a higher ed situation. But like getting this many people associated with the game vaccinated is actually remarkable. And so like, let's give a little bit of a kudos, because I know like baseball and definitely not the NFL, and I'm guessing also not the NBA, have 98% of their people vaccinated. So,
yeah, but also none of them have to cross international borders.
NBA does.
Well,
baseball does.
Not really.
There's like Toronto.
It's like 2 fucking teams. Like,
yeah, but it's still fucking Canada.
No, I know, but
and Canada's the stickler.
I'm just saying that matters a whole lot more to the NHL than it does to any other league. And so also thank God for Canada and for them being as proactive as they should be.
And for giving us poutine. So speaking of carbs, the TNT broadcast crew was announced this week. So we noticed that one name that hadn't popped up earlier on the TNT, like these are the people we've hired lists, popped up. And that was Paul Bissonnette. And Paul Bissonnette, who, if you don't know, is the frat boy douche version or half of Spitting Chicklets, which is actually probably giving Ray Whitney way too much credit.
I always thought of Whitney as the frat boy douche version, as Paul Bissonnette is like.
Is he a fuckboy then?
Yeah.
Okay. I will change my stance. Paul Bissonnette is the fuckboy half of Spitting Chicklets, which is the hockey podcast that is unfortunately listened to by a lot of people, and is part of the Barstool Empire, which also sucks. And it's just kind of the NHL or TNT. Sorry, TNT clearly hired him, I think, to be the Barkley.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody's been saying that he's the Charles Barkley of the TNT lineup, and they could have done worse. They could have done better.
Could they have done worse?
Yeah, they could have hired Roenick.
True. Okay. I stand corrected. Thank you, Evan, for that. Do you think Jeremy Roenick and Kurt Schilling just like hang out?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
But like Bissonnette, he has some redeeming qualities as I know it's fucking painful to recognize, but I
refuse to recognize
especially in comparison to Ryan Whitney. I think Bissonnette genuinely, I wonder if this is him like trying to get legit after being with Barstool for so long. Like, if this is him like being the first rat off the ship, I think Barstool's kind of lost its room in many ways. Like
I doubt it.
Philosophically, yeah, numbers, sure, but I think it's losing traction.
From us on our like moral high horse, we're like, yeah, Barstool's on the way down, but the numbers say otherwise.
I think that shit is just tired. I think it was fresh for a little while. Chicklets was fresh for a little while, and now it's fucking tired. It's just a bunch of white guys in a room talking about the good times and blah, blah, blah.
Which is in no way, shape, or form what we are doing here.
Yeah, we just hate everything equally.
Yeah, I'm just pretty sad.
But like, I don't know. I wonder if there is a sort of pivot angle to this because I see Dave Portnoy not being able to open a pizza box, and I see the writing on a wall for Barstool.
I will say this. I'm willing to give Bissonnette a chance to prove that he's more than just a fuckboy. I am skeptical that he will take that chance, and also he doesn't know who I am, so like whatever. He doesn't know the chances out there, but I'm giving it to you, Paul. I'm giving it to you. I would love to see what you're saying come to fruition. He's like, well, I'm legit now. I don't want to do spit and checklist anymore. Pink Whitneys suck.
It's awful alcohol. I mean, I assume he will still keep doing spit and chiclets.
It's like gin flavored piss is what it is. I assume he'll keep doing chiclets, but maybe he slowly removes himself from it. I don't know.
So when they were originally looking to cast this Charles Barkley of hockey part, I kind of thought it was going to be Kevin Bieksa, maybe Patrick Sharp. Going with Bissonnette is definitely leaning into the Barkley of the Charles. He will very much be the old pro turned to for some lowbrow humor. Paul Bissonnette, I think, can be kind of funny, and I think generally wants the people around him to get along. That's kind of how I read him. Even, being the head of one of Barstool's biggest hockey properties. But
he is Barstool's biggest hockey property.
Right. Barstool also got famous on the back of him. I mean, you can't really divorce the two, can you? So I don't know. I see this as him trying to get at something bigger.
So moving on to other weird signings and weird moments, I'm actually really kind of shocked by half of these PTO signings.
You mean paid time off? I want some paid time off.
I have lots of that actually, to the point where I'm getting compensated because I didn't use all of mine.
Well, I would like some.
You can have it.
Have none.
First off, Alex Galchenyuk going back to the Yotes. This is not how this works. You are supposed to play for every single team in the NHL, and you're going back to a team you already played for. Sign with fucking Vegas. What are you doing?
Vegas realized he doesn't play defense. So yeah,
okay.
Alex Galchenyuk signs PTO at the Coyotes, where he spent many fruitless years. No, he was fantasy relevant for a hot stretch.
Of all his fruitless searches, they led him back to the fruitless confines of wherever the Yotes are playing this year.
Yeah, so going to not Glendale.
Nikita Gusev signed with Toronto, which
that makes sense.
That Nikita Gusev getting another contract makes a lot of sense. I think he played on some let's be honest, some shitty New Jersey teams. Yeah. I'm surprised that he's kind of gotten a bad rap in the NHL. I don't know enough about him to say, oh, he sucked or, oh, he's great.
He was a talented forward that kind of disappeared.
Yeah. So him getting a new chance, I'm actually kind of surprised Toronto would give him a chance because they have a lot of people. And I'm also rooting for Josh Ho-Sang to make their team.
Yeah, for real. That is, talk about somebody that we don't have on this list.
Yeah.
He has apparently been working up a storm for the last 6 weeks in the Toronto facility, and I am all in on some Josh Ho-Sang this year. I want him to make the show and show people that they've been wrong about this Josh Ho-Sang is locker room cancer bullshit for years.
And fuck the Islanders is what it will be, a real great story. If yes, we as a podcast are 100% in the Josh Ho-Sang revenge tour camp.
Speaking of the Islanders, they signed Eric Gustafsson to a professional tryout after he had a pretty good showing in Montreal last year after being traded there. He's a guy who, if you use correctly, can spot you some dividends. He's a power play quarterback. That's all he does.
Protect him on your third line, and only start him in offensive zone faceoffs.
He cannot actually skate backwards. Like that's the Eric Gustafson story. And then James Neal and Michael Frolik are trying out for the St. Louis Blues, which is interesting. I expect Michael Frolik to make it and James Neal to not.
I was going to say, flip of the coin, which one of these guys do you think? And if you had said James Neal, I was going to castigate you. Like, no. Michael Frolik, he's
still got tires left.
He's a talented guy who just gets injured all the time.
He's a cup winner for the Blackhawks. He was pretty good when he was younger. Yeah, he just...
so was Brad Aldrich.
Oof. You just turn that oof up to 100. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And finally, I'm absolutely flabbergasted by this. Bobby Ryan signed a PTO with the Wings. And
Booby Ryan.
The dude was having a very good year until he got hurt, for a 30-something veteran, until he got hurt last year.
He'll make the team. They're just trying to pay him bottom dollar.
I think they paid him bottom dollar last year.
Right. I
hope he makes the team, not at the expense of a prospect who has earned it, but I do hope he makes the team, even if he's just like a rotational piece. He's a healthy scratch, whatever. Like that's a guy you put on your third line and he can do some, especially for the Wings who suck.
And they do kind of need some veteran leadership too. And he is a good kind of guy in the room.
Yeah. And so he's a very respected player. He is a guy who, even after getting hurt last year, spent so much time around the team trying to help them. And let's face it, like the Wings grew, like they were still shitty last year, but they grew by leaps and bounds from the team before that. So, and I'm not saying they're going to have like the same growth this year. I expect them wholeheartedly to be like bottom 6, 7 in the league this year. But having a guy like Bobby Ryan around is a massive boost just to that camaraderie, that organizational like structure. And I was shocked that nobody gave Bobby Ryan a contract. I'll be perfectly honest. And so I'm thrilled that the Wings signed him to a PTO contract, and I hope he makes the team.
Speaking of good guys in the room, Travis Zajac announced his retirement this week, signed a 1-day contract with the New Jersey Devils to retire a Devil where he spent the majority of his career. Happy trails. It was a good career. He was a good soldier. He didn't, unfortunately, accomplish a whole ton that was worth talking about in terms of teams. He played on a lot of bad teams, but he himself put up pretty good numbers and was a good face of the franchise for many years. From what I hear, it's Nico Hischier's team, and Nico is going to be the face. He's going to be the center for the future. And, him and Jack Hughes,
Dougie Hamilton
and Bougie Hamilton will,
I love that guy.
Yeah. This New Jersey Devils team is going to be super fun to watch over the next 2 to 3 years.
Brief segue. I'm so fucking excited for this season.
Yeah, it's starting to build.
Fucking excited.
Even through this episode, I'm getting more and more excited for hockey.
I have no idea what's going to happen. This is an obvious segue to our season preview episode, which will come out pretty soon. But I have no idea what's going to happen this year.
The feeling of impending madness is so good.
Fucking Edmonton might finally be good. Who knows?
Impending Madness, a good Pink Floyd B-side. Speaking of Pink Floyd, the Coyotes took some peyote and decided to rebrand once again.
They rebranded to something that already existed, though.
But
it's awesome.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
No, but what's novel is they realized the classic thing is better than what we have than the new thing. And we're going to throw this back in. The reverse retro jerseys was like the big league chew of going back to their old branding. And they decided, we want this Wolf Kachina thing. And, the old original kind of 90s branding, because it was just better and more interesting and more original. And, after kind of dumbing it down with the wolf head logo and going kind of hyper modern, realized, hey, no, let's go back to the roots. This will be more interesting. props to them for realizing that was stronger.
So the Coyotes have done exactly 0 things right in the last, say, 100 years. This is an actual really great step. I loved the original Yotes logo. I grew up in Michigan, but I had family in the Phoenix area. And so we got some like Phoenix Suns gear and some Coyotes gear when we were little and just loved it. So there's kind of like a childhood joy that comes with this coming back. They brought back the quarter moon logo as well for their sweater sleeves.
And they're going back to play in their old arena.
Yeah, so America West. I don't know what it's called now. I don't think America West
I remember
exists
seeing
anymore.
like that arena in like a video game video, intro to every NHL 98 game I played. Like I'm happy to see this. They sent some poor intern with Jacob Chychrun out to out to the middle of nowhere to take some photos
while
of him
holding a hockey stick.
Yeah, like I hope they smoked a blunt afterwards together or something. Just like
I hope
such
they
a
didn't
weird
die.
exercise.
Like it's hot in the desert.
Yeah. Jacob Chychrun featuring on Don't Call Saul.
Where are they now? Unsolved mysteries.
The disappearance
Forensic
of
files.
Jacob Chychrun.
Yeah, this is I think it's good for the Yotes. I'm excited to see this. But
real win is for the graphic designer.
They're gonna still suck. But hey, they got Phil Kessel, they got hot dogs, they got the Kachina doll logo. Like, let's party it up in Phoenix. Phoenix.
Let's enjoy.
Let's call them the Phoenix Coyotes again. Who gives a shit?
Let's just enjoy some Coyotes this year while we have them.
Before they become the Quebec City Coyotes.
Word on the street is that Jack Eichel will report to Buffalo camp, at least for his physical.
Well, it's not like he can play. He's got a broken neck. Or not neck. He's got bad vertebrae or something like that.
Broken spirits.
Yeah, well.
He's got bad humors and the bad blood.
Yeah, I think he kind of has to. And
right, for his own trade value. Like, this is only a step in him trying to help himself get traded.
I really kind of hope that Kevin Adams says, fuck this. We're keeping Jack Eichel until somebody gives us what he's worth. And I mean, we can argue about what he's worth, but it's a lot. He's a top, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 center in the NHL.
But you're also rolling the dice that he may never be healthy again.
Yes, I agree. You'd have to, before he gets traded, he's got to have a clean bill of health. Like, that's got to happen.
And so I think that's the motivation here. Some people think that he may play some games for them as a sort of demo show. Oh yeah, I'm still good at hockey, you guys. It's stupid. Let him have the fucking surgery. Let him get on with his career. It sucks that maybe one of the brightest talents that the NHL has seen in the last decade could perhaps not play again because of just the sort of capitalistic mismanagement of an injury situation, because it happened in the context of a contract year. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Zdeno Chara signs with the Islanders, his original team in the NHL.
Absolutely adorable. Hugs all around.
I don't know. You can hug his leg, maybe.
That's where I measure up to Zdeno Chara. But I loved his announcement. I loved his announcement where he pulled his old jersey out of his closet and was like, it's got some dust on it, but
this is where I am now.
Yeah. Also, the jerseys he pulled out, those Islanders jerseys were dope. The like really dark blue ones with kind of half chevrons on the shoulder. Those were sweet. I've not seen those.
Yeah, well, time to there's your reverse retro jersey for this year. Also in funny, Nathan McKinnon. Still fucking weird.
Yeah, like when someone tells you that they're not weird, don't believe them.
Yeah. That's like when you start a sentence by saying, not to be racist, but no, you're racist. You're about to say something racist. I'm not weird, but no, you're weird, Nathan McKinnon. And it's okay. You're fucking wonderful at hockey. You're incredible at hockey. But but you're weird, and it's okay.
The joke being that Nathan MacKinnon is a nutrition Nazi and, doesn't like it when his teammates don't eat as well as he does with his chickpea pasta and protein loading techniques. And so he came out in the media this week and said like, no, okay, guys, I like go to In-N-Out after games.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, yes, to make sure your teammates aren't eating there. And I don't know. It's kind of funny. Also, In-N-Out sucks, but that's a side story.
In-N-Out is good, but it's not as good as everybody tells you it is.
Yeah.
I like In-N-Out, but I don't like everybody who has had it once tells you that it's the best fucking thing that they've ever had. And it's like, no, if you go to In-N-Out like 4 times, you're like kind of over it. Like, do I think an animal style burger is pretty good? Yeah. But is it like drive to Kaiser, Oregon good? No.
But yeah, this has the feeling
of
of
Shake Shack.
No, absolutely not. This has the feeling of MacKinnon, coming out and saying like, hey guys, I go to high school parties.
No, I'm cool. I swear. No, guys, I'm cool. I wear Old Navy tech vests. I'm cool.
Like, if you were actually cool, what you would do is lean into the joke and make fun of yourself a little bit. And then it would go away forever.
And he instead doubled down on the weird.
Yeah.
The quote is, no, I go to In-N-Out after games. And like there were people like, there's no way he waits in the lines at the In-N-Out in Denver. And I was like, you think Nathan MacKinnon waits in line? He walks to the front and says, give me a stick of butter, and then walks out before he even gets the butter. Like first off, there's no way that this dude is eating at In-N-Out. And second off, like there's no way he's waiting in lines, even if he does eat at In-N-Out.
I believe he had maybe one cheat post-game meal, as a slump breaker. Like, and then, he had one bad game in which he, had only one shitty assist. And maybe he went to In-N-Out after that one because he needed to get some hydrogenated fat and bad oil into his system or something. I don't know.
And after he ate it, he flogged himself like the bad guy in the Da Vinci Code. All right. Well, I think that ends our time here today. Thanks for your patience as we deal with the off season. The NHL season starts on October 12th, so you can guess that we are going to be posting much more regularly here in the next couple of weeks.
Also, that is so fucking soon.
If you are looking for us, if you're scouring the internets going, oh, geez, where can I find Handsome Hockey Podcasts on the internets? Let me tell you, we can be found at handsomehockey.com, Handsome Hockey Podcast on Instagram, at Handsome Hockey on Twitter, which is probably our most active social media thing, largely because it's easy. We are also handsomehockeypod at gmail.com if you want to email us. And we are also, you can find us on Facebook at the Handsome Hockey Facebook page.
And assuming that you are listening to us somewhere and not just listening to us shouting from the next room, like some people. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, and Red Circle.
If you are our one ever listen on Google Podcasts, reach out to us. That would be kind of fun.
We would love to know what your experience is like.
Yeah. You obviously didn't come back, so
also we're
sorry.
We never gave away our free poutine.
Nobody claimed it.
So, if you listen to us on Google Podcasts, let us know, and free poutine will be yours.
Yeah, we're going to have to think of some giveaways here to just kind of have some fun. But the free poutine is kind of up in the air at this point. Also up in the air, stay handsome, everybody.
Restez beau, tout le monde.